Excuse me. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome you here today. My name is Gerard Fitzgerald, and I am the president of the Uniformed Firefighters Association of Greater New York City. I have some acknowledgments to make. First, I'd like to welcome Senator Marty Golden, Senator James Sanders Jr., Assemblyman Peter Abati, Assemblymember Robert Carroll, Assemblymember Michael Dendecker, Assemblymember Mark Jonai, Assemblymember Joe Lentol, Assemblymember Deborah Glick, Assemblymember Yu Lean New, Assemblymember Clyde Vanell, and Assemblymember David Weprin. We also have Melissa DeRosa, who is the secretary to the governor. Alfonso David, counsel to the governor. Roberta Reardon, commissioner, New York State Department of Labor. And Lola Brabham, acting commissioner, New York State Department of Civil Service. I'd also like to acknowledge all the members from the different unions. We have fire, police, corrections, sanitation. I hope you heard that. That are here. That this bill has will hopefully improve their lives, or God forbid, if their families need it. Okay. So I'll go back to my speech. We welcome an old friend of organized labor in New York here, and all uniformed service workers, Governor Andrew Cuomo. Since day one, the governor has been a champion for the men and women who have dedicated their lives to keeping New Yorkers safe. And he doesn't just talk about it, he gets it done. That's why we're here today. So thank you very much, Governor. I would also like to acknowledge the specific lawmakers in our state legislature who helped get us here today as well. Senate Majority Leader John Flanagan, Assembly Speaker Carl Heastie, Chair of the Chair of the Assembly Government Employees Committee, Peter Abate, and Chair of the Civil Service and Pensions Committee, Marty Golden. We have no better friends than Peter and Marty, just to give them a shout out from me. Thank you all very much for your support and hard work on behalf of firefighters and our families. Okay, we'll hold the applause to the end. I don't know if there's anything to applaud anymore, but let's go. All right? This law corrects a near-decade-old mistake and provides safeguards and stability for our members and their families. New York City firefighters have earned the title of bravest for a reason. Time after time through the years, we've answered this call for citizens when they are in distress. And tragically, through those years, many of our members have given their lives in these efforts. Many others have sustained career-ending injuries on the job and been left with ailments that stay with them for the rest of their lives. This law ensures that our members can go to work every single day on behalf of families, friends, and neighbors without having to worry about whether or not their own families will be provided for adequately in the event they are injured on the job. Being a firefighter is incredibly dangerous work, but thanks to this law and to the safeguards it has put in place, all members can rest a little easier knowing that in the event of a tragedy on the job, they and their families will be taken care of adequately. So, thank you again, Governor, and the members of the legislature for what you've done for us. Thank you. So now please join me in welcoming another fighter for hardworking New Yorkers, Police Benevolent Association President Patrick Lynch.
tall as the governor. You got to pull the little step out for me. You know, today's an important day. It's an important day because there's been a long fight and journey to get here. But a person that's been with us all throughout that fight, from the beginning, who said, I'll make this a priority, and wasn't quiet about it. He said it in front of our delegate body, and you can imagine how difficult that can be and rough that we are on our delegate union meetings. But he said it. I'll stand with you. We'll get it done. He stood on the Capitol steps with firefighters and police officers, said, this is right, this is a priority, it needs to be done, and it needs to be done sooner than later. Why? Because our police officers and firefighters are out in the street as we speak. While our members are standing holding a sign saying this needs to be done, they were on the streets putting themselves at risk. The governor also understood, along with our colleagues in the Senate and the Assembly, Peter and Marty Golden, who were willing to stand up and say it's not right that two police officers riding in a radio car, responding to the same job. One may have gray hair, one may be thin, and their hair all one color, but they're going into the same job, the same danger. It's not fair. Let's treat them right. And more importantly, this is a just cause. So the governor said, let me be the catalyst to bring everyone together. And he did. He brought all of us in the Senate and all of us in the Assembly together. He brought all the unions together, say, where are the problems? Where can we fix them? How can we get it done so it universally solves problems for all of our members? Now, any of us that are in this type of business know how difficult that can be, but it got done. We had real discussions. We had real arguments. We had real yelling matches, but we got it done. We started on the steps of the Capitol. We started on the steps of City Hall. But we ended here today, where we're going to sit at this table. The governor is going to sign the law that so many folks worked on so hard. So many of our members put themselves at risk, whether it's pushing that red rig around the block or it's that white and blue radio car sitting on your corner. He said, let's bring them together. We'll bring our electeds, we'll bring our government, we'll bring the members that are out there protecting it all, and we'll come to this day. So I'm pleased and honored to be asked to come up here and speak. I'm honored that we're able to represent so many great folks that are out in our neighborhoods each and every day. And it's my pleasure and my honor to introduce the final step of this long process, a process that's a lot of hard work, where we sit at this table and sign this bill. It's my honor, it's my pleasure to introduce a fellow Queens New Yorker, the governor of the state of New York, Governor Cuomo.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Wow, what a great day and what a pleasure to be here. This was a lot of work. A lot of people worked very hard, but you're right, it was a just cause, it was the right thing, and at the end of the day, the state of New York does the right thing. Let's give another round of applause to the legislators who are here today for a big help. To the labor leaders who are here, first Gerard Fitzgerald. Congratulations on your position, and thank you for working on this with us. Vinny Alvarez from the CLC, let's give him a round of applause. Jake Flamanda, congratulations, good to be with you, Jake. Let's give him a round of applause. We have Joe Mannion, we have Harry Nespoli, a good friend of my father. My schoolmate Mike Palladino is here today. Roy Richter, John Skinner, thank you very much for being here. And last but certainly not least, Pat Lynch, my buddy from Queens. Now, Pat says we were both from Queens, which is true. But you know, Queens, there are different parts of Queens. Pat was from northern Queens. He was from Bayside, Queens. Bayside because they had a bay in Bayside by the water. I was from Hollis, Queens. We called my neighborhood Puddle Side, is what they called it. That's all we had was a puddle side. But I'll tell you this, Pat Lynch is the real deal. When he says he's with you, he's with you. When you're in the trenches with him, he's in the trenches with you. You can trust him with your back. This doesn't happen without Pat Lynch. Let's give him a round of applause. And it truly is my pleasure to be with you today. You are the finest uniformed force, not just in this state, but in this nation and maybe in this world. Give yourselves a round of applause. And we're here to celebrate the extraordinary service that you do, and I say extraordinary because it is truly extraordinary. I know the reality that you face. I've seen it. And it's hard out there. It's harder than it's ever been before. And the job is tougher than it's ever been before. We have emergencies, we have disasters, we have violence like never before. We have natural disasters that have never happened before. My father, God rest his soul, was governor for 12 years. In 6 years, I had more natural disasters than my father had in 12. It is a scarier world. I just got word walking in today, a tornado touched down in Buffalo just now. And I'll be leaving here to go to Buffalo to deal with the tornado. We never had tornadoes in Buffalo. We didn't have floods in the mid-Hudson. We didn't have Superstorm Sandy in New York. This is all a new and different reality. We didn't have this level of violence. We didn't have this level of fear. And you have stepped up time and time again. I've seen sanitation workers out there during Superstorm Sandy working shift after shift to keep people safe, not knowing if their own family was safe. But they were there helping others. Correction officers, whose job is more difficult today than it's ever been before. You have people in jails now, 40% mentally ill, that you have to deal with. That was not a job for a correction officer. Mentally ill, you don't know at any given time what somebody's going to do. Police officers, I've seen police officers out there guarding protests, taking abuse from protesters with such diligence and professionalism that despite the provocation, they didn't move a muscle. God bless you, because I don't have that kind of patience and that kind of tolerance. Firefighters who rush into buildings. We take the 9/11 motorcycle ride every year when we leave from Rescue 1. And we retrace the steps of Rescue 1. Now, Rescue 1 knew they were going to the trade centers. And they knew what was going on in the trade centers. And when I'm riding my bike down that West Side Highway, I'm saying to myself, can you imagine what these guys were thinking going to the trade centers? They know what they're going into. They're listening to the radio reports. And not a one of them gets off the truck. How unnatural, how brave. The human instinct is to run from danger. And they actually run towards danger. That's what today is about for me. Growing up in Queens, I lived next door to a patrol officer, New York City police officer. We'll call him Pete. He was my father's good buddy. His son was my best friend. And we held him in such esteem. When he would work the night shift, all the kids played down at the other end of the block. God forbid you wake up Pete after the night shift. For two reasons. First, God forbid he ever came out of that house. And second, we just had such a respect and decorum for what he did. Pete was the neighborhood judge and arbiter. If there was any problems with the neighbors, any problems with the kids and the neighbors, you'd go see Pete. And you'd explain it to Pete, and you'd stand there in the street and explain it to Pete, and Pete would tell you what was the right thing. And there was no appeal from what Pete said, you know. That was it. That was the law. Back then, he used to bring the black and green police cars. This is before the time of most of you guys with that big bubble on top, the cherry on top of the car. And just seeing the car, we had such respect and esteem. And that's the word that it comes down to, is respect. My brother-in-law, Brian O'Donoghue, of the O'Donohues of Queens, 15 O'Donohues, you know, Irish birth control. I'll stop right there. He was a firefighter working down on Duane Street. My sister, Madeline, whenever he would work his shift, she would be up for the entire shift, worried about what was happening and when was he going to come home. He then went to law school at nights. He's now a fancy lawyer. Every time he sees me, he tells me he's going to sue the state. But the relationship was about respect. There was respect for the uniform. There was respect for the role. There was respect for the person. There was respect for the sacrifice. And the door swings both ways in life. Your role is to have respect for the public. But the door also swings the other way. And the public has to have respect for you. And I will say it. You haven't always gotten the respect from the public that you deserve. And you get it from us. Now, before I was governor, they passed a bill in 2009. And there were two gross injustices in the bill. It was a pension bill. And the first injustice said that new hires would only get a 50% disability. So the rookies coming on the job would get a 50% disability. 50% disability. After they did the deductions, it was about $27 a day. How can a family live on $27 a day? And it was only for New York City officers. Everywhere outside of the state, they still got 75%. How do you justify paying the rookies in New York City 50% and the officers outside of New York City 75%? Is the job more difficult? Is it more dangerous? Of course not. Is it cheaper to live outside of New York City? Of course not. There was no fairness. It was a pure injustice. It was wrong. And we said we were going to right it, and we did right that wrong last year. The second injustice was that you got 75% disability until you did 20 years. And then after 20 years, the disability dropped to 50%. On what theory? The more you work, the less you get. You do 20 years, and instead of retiring, you say, I'm going to stay on the job, I believe in the job, I have my seniority, I have my expertise, I want to continue to work. And they reduce the disability. It made absolutely no sense. Now, where Patty and I come from in Queens, the best expression was do the right thing. Do the right thing. What is the right thing? You don't read it in a book. They don't teach it to you in school. But you know the right thing. You live the right thing. The culture reinforces the right thing. You feel the right thing in your gut. And the right thing is that you put your life on the line every day, and we must have your back, period. That is the right thing. Now, over my 7 years as governor, I've gone to too many funerals. I have seen too many good young men and women brutally, mercilessly killed. Sometimes just for the uniform they wear. Sometimes because of the uniform they wear, they are targeted for assassination. And call it what it is. We have had assassinations. Last week, Officer Familia leaves behind a 20-year-old daughter, 12-year-old twins. Same week, Trooper Joel Davis is killed, leaves behind an 18, 17, and 13-year-old. He was only 36 years old. And I meet the families, and the families who are still in a state of shock, they look into my eyes, Governor of New York, and they're looking for some kind of reassurance. They're looking for me to say something that makes some sense of the madness and the needlessness. And I basically say the same thing. I say to the wife when I'm hugging the wife, I say to the 8-year-old daughter when I'm holding her hand, your mom, your dad was a hero. And you should be proud of them because they dedicated their lives to helping other people. And there is no higher calling than what they did. And they went out doing what they loved doing. But don't worry, because we will be there for you. You are not alone. You may not have a father, you may not have your mother, but you have us. And we're going to make sure you get what you need in this life. And I say don't worry, because society, this state will do the right thing and we will support you. That's our obligation. It is the least that we can do for those who made the ultimate sacrifice, that we will take care of their family when they are gone. Today I signed that bill, and that bill will protect families of all 64,000 uniformed members of the force and their families. God forbid anything happens. And that says every family will receive the full 3/4 disability. I don't care if you're a rookie, I don't care if you're on 10 years, I don't care if you're on 30 years. Everybody's going to get the 3/4 disability. And the statement is, you were there for us, and we are going to be there for you, and we are going to be there for your families, period. That, my friends, is how I spell respect. Let's sign the bill. Congratulations. Congratulations, the bill is signed.
He's not having, we're gonna have to chase him, let's go.